Welcome back, everyone. On tonight's Get Psyched with Dr. Janine, we'll discuss how war has impacted the field of clinical psychology. And I've learned something new here already today, Dr. Hubbard. First of all, welcome.
Thank you so much, as always.
So let's just delve right into this. How did the first two world wars influence the profession of psychology?
Well, the reality is we wouldn't have our current clinical psychology as it exists today without the experiences of those first two world wars. As everybody pretty much knows, the soldiers came back from World War I, and we described what they called as being shell-shocked. So there was an acknowledgement that something really traumatic had happened, and that there were some psychological impacts. But at the time, unfortunately, a lot of it was blamed on individual weakness or, you know, low moral fortitude. Like, it was very much blamed on the individuals. And at that time, the practice of psychology was very academic. It was very research-based. It wasn't sitting down with clients. And then World War II came along, and initially psychology was enlisted to try to develop assessment tools, screening tools, to try to figure out who would be the people who could go to war without experiencing all those negative side effects that the World War I veterans had experienced. And as we very quickly learned, no, what we have learned is trauma can affect anyone, but it certainly started the development of many of our assessment tools. At the same time, what we started to realize was that there was great use for psychology in terms of treating a variety of symptoms, including the trauma of individuals who are coming back from the war. Actually, there was a huge amount of money put into training psychologists, developing programs of psychology specifically to address some of the psychological trauma that had come out of the Second World War. An ugly chapter in our profession. We were also enlisted to help with things like designing psychological warfare and propaganda. We now have very strict ethics codes around that, but that was certainly part of it at the time. But yes, that was where the explosion of psychology training emerged.
And then, of course, the next milestone being the Vietnam War, despite the fact that not a lot of Canadians were involved in that, then shed some light on what we now know as PTSD, I understand.
It did. We actually didn't have post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, as a diagnosis until 5 years after the Vietnam War ended. So the experiences of those soldiers coming back vastly improved our understanding, as well as all of the associated disorders, things like depression, anxiety, substance use. And as part of all of that, then helped us design appropriate evidence-based treatments for all of those issues.
Which we continue to use and is very much needed today. We have to wrap it up there, but you know, there's just always so much that we learn when you come on this segment. So thanks again for being here this evening and for this history lesson.
Well, thank you. And on behalf of my profession, I again want to extend my thanks and my gratitude to those who have served, and hope that we can continue to serve both our veterans and the general public as we move forward.
Dr. Janine Hubbard joining us live in the newsroom.
Thanks.